What if the very essence of your society was turned upside down overnight? This was the reality for France in 1789. Imagine being a part of a society where the monarchy, the clergy, and the aristocracy held all the power, wealth, and privileges. A society where the masses were burdened with taxes, while the privileged elites enjoyed tax exemptions. This was the state of France before the Revolution. The king, Louis XVI, was at the helm of a rapidly sinking ship. The French treasury was in dire straits, having been drained by wars, extravagant spending, and an archaic, unfair tax system. Meanwhile, the common people were grappling with skyrocketing bread prices and widespread unemployment. The rich got richer, the poor got poorer, and social tensions were simmering beneath the surface. The clergy and the aristocracy, who made up the first and second estates, were living in opulence, while the third estate, composed of the commoners, bore the brunt of the financial burden. This glaring social inequality was a ticking time bomb, and it was only a matter of time before it exploded. At the same time, the winds of change were blowing across the Atlantic. The American Revolution had just concluded, and the ideas of liberty, equality, and fraternity had begun to seep into French society. France had provided significant financial and military support to the American colonies, a decision that further strained its already depleted treasury. However, the American Revolution did more than just cripple France's economy. It planted the seeds of revolutionary ideas in the minds of the French people. And so the stage was set. The financial crisis, social inequalities, and the influence of the American Revolution all converged to create a perfect storm. The monarchy, the clergy, and the aristocracy were blissfully unaware of the brewing tempest. But the people were awake, their eyes open to the injustices of their society. And so, pushed to the brink, the stage was set for a revolution that would shake France to its core. On July 14, 1789, a symbol of royal tyranny, the Bastille, fell to the hands of the revolutionaries. This imposing fortress, the Bastille, was more than just a prison. It was a potent symbol of the absolute and arbitrary power of Louis XVI's ancient regime. By the summer of 1789, France was in the grip of an economic crisis, food shortages were widespread, and the rumblings of revolt grew louder each day. It was on this fateful day in July that a crowd of Parisians, fueled by anger and desperation, stormed the Bastille. The prison held only 7 inmates at the time, but its significance lay not in its function as a detention center. Rather, it was the cache of weapons and gunpowder stored within its walls that drew the attention of the revolutionaries. And more than that, the Bastille was a towering embodiment of the monarchy's despotic rule. Its fall was not just a practical victory, but a symbolic one. It sent a powerful message to the king. The people were no longer willing to endure his tyranny. The storming of the Bastille ignited the spark that would set the whole of France ablaze with revolution. News of this unprecedented act of defiance spread like wildfire, inspiring others across the nation to rise up against their oppressors. The monarchy's grip on power was beginning to slip, and there was no turning back. In the following days, the National Assembly, the revolutionary government, formally recognized this act of rebellion. The Bastille Day, as we now know it, became a national holiday, a day of celebration and remembrance of the people's triumph over tyranny. The fall of the Bastille was more than a pivotal event in the French Revolution. It was a beacon of hope for those yearning for freedom, a symbol of the people's power. And it marked the beginning of an era that would forever change the course of history. The fall of the Bastille marked the beginning of the French Revolution, a beacon of hope and a symbol of the people's power. With the monarchy overthrown, a new order emerged, but it was far from the utopia the revolutionaries had envisioned. The vacuum left by the fallen monarchy was swiftly filled by a radical political group known as the Jacobins. Among them was a man who would become synonymous with the term tyrant, Maximilien Robespierre. As he ascended to power, Robespierre preached about virtue and liberty, but his reign would be one of blood and terror. Robespierre and the Jacobins established the Committee of Public Safety, which, despite its benign name, served as the orchestrator of what would be later known as the Reign of Terror. This was a period of intense political and social unrest in France, marked by mass executions of perceived enemies of the revolution. The guillotine, a symbol of swift and egalitarian justice, became the instrument of a ruthless cleansing. It was a time when the streets of Paris ran red, and the air was filled with the chilling sound of the guillotine's blade. Even the king, Louis XVI, and his queen, Marie Antoinette, were not spared from the blade's cold justice. Their executions marked a point of no return as France severed its ties with the monarchy completely. Robespierre, once an advocate of the people, had become their greatest fear. His obsession with purifying the Republic of its enemies led to the execution of nearly 17,000 individuals. No one was safe from suspicion, not even fellow revolutionaries. Paranoia ran rampant, friendships were abandoned, and trust was a luxury few could afford. Yet the reign of terror was not to last. As quickly as it had begun, it ended with the execution of Robespierre himself. The man who had sent thousands to the guillotine met the same fate, a victim of his own revolution. The Reign of Terror painted a grim picture of the revolution, a stark reminder of the cost of unchecked power. Out of the ashes of the Reign of Terror rose a new leader, Napoleon Bonaparte, promising stability and order. Born to a modest family on the island of Corsica, Napoleon was not a man of royal blood, but he was a man of exceptional military talent and boundless ambition. Napoleon's rise to power began in the French army. His military prowess during the French Revolution set him apart, and by the time the dust of the Reign of Terror had settled, Napoleon had become a prominent figure. He seized power in a coup in 1799, effectively ending the French Revolution and beginning his reign. Once in power, Napoleon established the French Empire and crowned himself emperor in 1804, a bold move that broke with centuries of tradition. He wasn't just a conqueror though, he was also a reformer. Napoleon implemented significant reforms that transformed French society. These included the Napoleonic Code, a legal framework that influenced civil law systems worldwide. He also established the Bank of France, stabilized the French economy, and made education accessible to more people. But as is often the case with those who rise high, Napoleon also fell hard. His ambition led him to expand his empire across much of Europe, but his military campaigns eventually stretched the French Empire too thin. His disastrous invasion of Russia in 1812 marked the beginning of the end. Napoleon's final downfall came with his defeat at the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. This defeat ended his rule as emperor and he was exiled to the remote island of St. Helena, where he spent the last 6 years of his life. Napoleon's reign, marked by both progress and tyranny, was the final act of the French Revolution. His story serves as a reminder of the dual nature of power. It can bring about significant progress, but when unchecked it can also lead to downfall. The French Revolution, a decade of turmoil and change, left an indelible mark on the world. A whirlwind of radical reform, the revolution swept away centuries-old institutions, reshaping France and the globe in its wake. The end of feudalism, one of the most significant changes, marked a turning point in social and political structures. No longer would the nobility hold exclusive rights to land and wealth. This shift laid the groundwork for a more egalitarian society, a concept that would ripple outwards, inspiring change in countries far beyond France's borders. But the revolution didn't just change the physical landscape, it altered the ideological one too. The rise of nationalism, a direct result of the revolution, became a powerful force. French citizens began to see themselves not as subjects of a king, but as part of a nation, united under a common identity. This newfound sense of belonging, of shared destiny, spread across Europe and beyond, igniting fires of national pride that still burn brightly today. Yet perhaps the most profound legacy of the French Revolution lies in its democratic ideals. The cry of liberty, equality, fraternity echoed around the world, a rallying call for those yearning for freedom and justice. The revolution championed the idea that power should rest with the people, not with a privileged few. This belief, radical in its time, became a beacon for future movements, setting a precedent for democratic governance. But let's not forget the darker side of this legacy. The Reign of Terror, a period of extreme violence and mass executions, serves as a chilling reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and radicalism. The French Revolution, in all its complexity, teaches us that while progress is necessary, it must be pursued with caution and respect for human life. The French Revolution, a testament to the power of the people, forever altered the course of history.